Hello, and welcome to my bungalow of blood.
Put that belt down, you look like an idiot.
Today, I'd like to talk about the connection between horror movies and professional wrestling.
Too sweet me, bro.
Silly men and their inside jokes.
And the bizarre use of horror movie slashers in Japanese deathmatch wrestling.
If this isn't a niche topic, I don't know what is.
So if you like pro wrestling and horror, keep watching.
I don't want to listen to this. Hans, drive me to the bar.
But I want to talk about wrestling.
Natasha, drive me to the bar.
No, I want to learn about wrestling.
Gary?
I'm already drunk off of Saurian brandy.
Come on, Ed, stick around.
Okay, I'll stick around.
Good, because even if you don't like wrestling, this should be a lot of fun.
I'm already having fun.
Like any other form of entertainment, pro wrestling tells a story. And every great story needs good guys and bad guys.
The good guy is the babyface and the bad guy is the heel.
Good guys, bad guys, this is insulting my intelligence.
Back in the old days, for a heel to be effective, they had to strike fear into the audience.
Just like a villain in a horror movie.
And there lies the connection.
Oh, I see.
Even as early as the 40s and 50s, wrestlers such as Tor Johnson were cast to play villainous monsters in sci-fi and horror films because of their imposing look and nasty in-ring reputation.
He was famously in Plan 9 from Outer Space.
And he was played by professional wrestler George the Animal Steel in the Ed Wood movie.
Scary horror-inspired characters or gimmicks were created to frighten the audience and create a worthy opponent for the good guy.
The babyface.
In the late 80s and early 90s, horror icons like Freddy Krueger and Jason Voorhees were dominating the box office. Well, the wrestling world took notice and started to develop their own horror icons like The Undertaker.
Even I know who that is.
His manager Paul Bearer, Papa Shango, and even Doink the Clown.
Not too long after the It miniseries made a nation terrified of clowns.
Tim Curry, what a beautiful man.
There was the Yeti.
A fucking mummy coming out of a block of ice? Are you kidding me?
Mick Foley drew inspiration from Hannibal Lecter and Leatherface from Texas Chainsaw Massacre to create the deranged character Mankind. Wrestling veteran Terry Funk even put a pair of stockings over his head and called himself Chainsaw Charlie, again inspired by Leatherface. The Undertaker's brother Kane debuted with the same backstory as Freddy Krueger from Nightmare on Elm Street, and Cropsy from The Burning.
What about Kevin Sullivan in the Dungeon of Doom?
Yeah, I don't think a bleach blonde, balding, stocky man with a Boston accent pretending to be a Satanist is all that scary.
Some men just shouldn't do their own makeup.
Sting's most successful persona is a ripoff from The Crow.
Speaking of makeup, Dustin Runnels, aka Dustin Rhodes, better known as Goldust, left the WWF in 1999 to go to WCW. They aired vignettes to tease his new character Seven, and these are actually very creepy. It showed a mysterious man in a big hat and white makeup peering at a sleeping child through a window.
The network abandoned the character as they thought Seven looked too much like a child abductor.
It scared me, and I pooped my pants.
Didn't Chucky once show up on WCW Nitro?
Yes, actually. To promote 1998's Bride of Chucky, Rick Steiner wanted him to come to the ring so he could kick his raggedy ass. So with all these horror-themed gimmicks, of course, comes horror-themed matches. We had casket matches, buried alive matches, inferno matches, and a House of Horror match.
Oh, this all sounds so dangerous. I think I like it.
World Championship Wrestling held an annual pay-per-view called Halloween Havoc. In 1991, they had the one and only Chamber of Horrors match. It took place in a giant cage containing coffins that held ghouls that would attack the wrestlers. The way to win was to place a member of the other team into a giant electric chair, pull the lever, and I guess kill the guy?
That sounds pretty awesome to me.
It's actually known as the greatest gimmick match blunder of all time.
What about Jon Moxley versus Kenny Omega in an exploding barbed wire death match?
There was no explosion.
But the rest of the match was good, right?
You just love Kenny because he is from Winnipeg.
Speaking of barbed wire death matches, let's take a trip down to Japan.
Don't leave without me. I have to pack my bags.
In the early 90s, Michael Panzel, who wrestled as Corporal Kirshner in the WWF, went to Japan and created a new gimmick for himself, Leatherface, which is exactly that, Leatherface from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
This guy never got sued for copyright infringement?
No, apparently not, and he'd make his entrance to the ring through the crowd, wielding a running chainsaw, terrorizing the fans. It was a sight to be seen, and the Japanese fans ate it up. He actually became one of the biggest heels in the promotion.
Wasn't there more than one Leatherface?
Yes, actually, after Penzel was sent to jail for assaulting a fan, Winnipeg-born wrestler Rick Patterson donned the mask and inherited the gimmick, wrestling in hardcore deathmatch promotions such as FMW and IWA. When Penzel got out of jail, he became Super Leatherface, teaming up with Patterson's Leatherface in a double hell deathmatch. That's right, a tag team of 2 Leatherfaces.
A wrestling multiverse.
A decade before we got Freddy vs. Jason on the big screen, we got Freddy vs. Jason the Terrible?
Let me guess. A wrestler in a hockey mask.
Well, you got it. Take a look.
What, they couldn't even find a striped shirt for Freddy?
At least he's got the glove and the hat.
Wait, is there another Jason helping out Freddy Krueger beat up other Jason?
What the hell? There's a Power Ranger in there too?
We never got a Freddy vs. Leatherface movie, but you can hit up YouTube and watch Freddy vs. Leatherface in a barbed wire baseball bat match.
Oh my god, just look at this shit. Some schlub in a shitty Freddy mask. What's with those shitty red wrestling boots?
And imagine trying to breathe in that mask. USWA also used a Leatherface character. Eric Embry brought him in to beat up Jerry Lawler.
You thought the crowds couldn't get any smaller or the wrestling any shittier? Well, enter the Boogeyman.
He eats worms, like me.
Not that Boogeyman, I'm talking about the Japanese Michael Myers gimmick. We may never get a movie, but 10 people in a school gym got to see Jason and Myers beat the shit out of each other with a baseball bat. You thought Busta Rhymes doing karate on Michael Myers was funny? How about Michael Myers tapping out to an abdominal stretch? You've heard of movies that are so bad they're good? This is wrestling so bad it's good.
What about the WWE Boogeyman?
In the 2000s, just when you thought they were putting an end to these overtop supernatural characters, WWE introduced the Boogeyman.
Oh my god, he's gorgeous.
And the zombie?
Oh my god, there was really a zombie wrestler? This can't get any worse.
In 2006, Glenn Jacobs, better known as the wrestler Kane, starred as a slasher in the horror movie See No Evil and its sequel.
You and Justin did an episode on that.
What about Hornswoggle?
Yeah, and Kane isn't the only wrestler to star in a slasher flick. Hornswoggle, whose in-ring character was a leprechaun,
He's Mr. McMahon's son.
played the leprechaun in Leprechaun Origins, which was produced by WWE.
CM Punk was in a horror movie too.
And CM Punk was in the horror film Girl on the Third Floor.
And he was really good in it, if you ask me.
Even today in the modern product, you have characters like Bray Wyatt, Abaddon, and Darby Allin, all inspired by horror.
Horror effects legend Tom Savini even designed the masks and effects for Bray Wyatt.
You mean the Fiend?
The Fiend, Bray Wyatt, IRS Jr., same thing.
So, as you can see, there's always been a strong relationship between horror and pro wrestling. Some of it worked very, very well, like The Undertaker, who is the most successful and beloved character of all time, and some of it was utter shit like the Yeti. Either way, I'm sure you can agree that when wrestling and horror meet, it's damn entertaining, regardless of the outcome.
Sorry to break kayfabe, guys, but that was actually a lot of fun.
Ed, are you a closet wrestling fan?
Too sweet me, brah?
Too sweet me, bro, too sweet me.